The safety is off. There's a round in the chamber. This is Armed Alabama, an interactive talk show discussing self-defense, product reviews, shooting tips, safety, and more. Your calls, comments, and texts welcome at 343-0106. Now, here are your hosts, retired judge and certified NRA instructor Rusty Johnston and certified NRA law enforcement instructor Adam Strange.
Welcome again to Armed Alabama. So glad you could join us tonight. We are your hosts, retired Judge Rusty Johnston, and I'm Adam Strange. You can call the studio at or text us at 251-343-0106. 343-0106. If please call and text us if you want to be a part of the show or have any questions you need to get answered. Check us out on our website. It's armedalabama.com for news and information, and also you can go on there and you can check out our previous shows. And look for us on social media, Facebook, Twitter. It's Armed Alabama Radio FM 106.5 on Facebook, and Twitter is Armed Alabama 106.5 FM.
And this is Judge Rusty Johnston. Welcome to our show tonight. We talk about pistols, rifles, revolvers, shotguns, ammunition, concealed carry, personal defense training, and attacks on our God-given right to protect ourselves and our families. During my part of the gun show with Matt Canovey up in Springfield, Adam here texts me, "You've been exposed to some terrible virus that I've never heard of, and if you start feeling bad, get to the doctor immediately." And of course, I'm in the middle of a 2-hour program that any of you that like these type shows that you're listening to, go to www.ksgf.com Saturday mornings, and you can listen to that program from 7 to 9. But I couldn't look up what it was, so I'm sweating for about 2 hours, but he's feeling a lot better.
Yeah, Judge, it was I had some type of virus that the doctor said it perhaps was the metapneumovirus or metapneumonia virus, if I'm saying it correctly. I'm not sure, but it was pretty tough.
But you're feeling better now, and none of us here at the studio have gotten sick. So right after that, then I texted everybody that was here that night and made sure they didn't get sick. If you've looked at any of our pages, our topic tonight, if you've got another thing you want to call about, feel free, and that number again is 251-343-0106, 0106, 343-0106, and that'll take a text also. We're going to talk about carbines for home defense. But if you've got a question about the law, ammunition, training, anything like that, just give us a call at that number, and we'll try to answer it. Adam, before I came, I measured various carbines that I own and compared them to various shotguns. And the Benelli M2 is a great shotgun, and it's one of the fastest shotguns that there is. And the Benelli M2 shotgun is 42 inches long. Compare that to a gun I have, the Israeli Tavor, Tavor, which is 28 inches long. That's the bare minimum that a gun can be to be legal.
And that's from the end of the stock to the end of the barrel.
That's correct.
Right.
And kind of in between, a 6 Sauer. Now, of course, Colt's the only one that can use AR-15, but their version of the AR-15, and that was 34 inches with the stock fully short as it could be. And an AK-47, 38 inches. Now, I modified that to have a collapsible stock. And the Beretta Storm, which is a fine carbine, 33 inches. And the reason I like those type guns for home defense is, imagine having a 42-inch shotgun. That, you've got a lot of metal in front of you. And if you're trying to clear your house, which I would recommend you not do, but if you are, you've got a big gun out in front of you that somebody can snatch away from you, as opposed to 28 inches that's right there tucked up against you. If you don't know about the Tavor, it takes AR-15 magazines. It fires 5.56, 223 rounds. it actually can be converted to fire 9mm rounds, and has a lot of things going for it. Price-wise, it's a little high, but not as high as a lot of guns out there. It's in the, I think, $1,800 range, but if you kind of add some extras on it, you can, like any gun, get it up there quick. But even though it's that small, it's a bullpup, so it's got a 16 or 16.5-inch barrel that you can also get them with 18. But, you know, it's good out to 300 or 400 yards. That's not a problem with it also. But little heavy, but the weight is at the buttstock. So that right there compensates for it. But it's a neat gun. Cleaning, you hinge the buttstock, you pull the guts out, soak it, and then you can take care of it that way. I think we have Lamar on the line there. Let's see what Lamar has to say. Lamar?
Yes, sir. I've got a real tough one for y'all.
Let's try it.
All right. My son's an avid hunter.
All right.
And he got, he's involved with a girl that he got charged with domestic, I guess it's harassment communications.
Harassing communications?
Yeah, and I guess they classify that as a domestic.
Well, I'm not sure about that, but go ahead.
Okay, about a month later, she set him up and got him charged again for domestic third. Now, we haven't went to court for that yet. I guess my question is, if he gets exonerated for these charges, which I know he will, due to the circumstances, will this have any effect on his right to have a firearm?
No. If he's found not guilty, no, it won't have any effect at all.
So if he gets exonerated what if he doesn't get exonerated for the first charge and gets fined for that? Will that interrupt any of his opportunities to have a gun?
Let me tell you, if he doesn't have a lawyer, that makes a difference. Does he have a lawyer?
Oh yeah, we got a lawyer,
and you should. I was maybe trying to pull a fast one on the whole procedure. If it is indeed a domestic violence crime, how old's your son?
He's 29.
Okay. If it is a domestic violence offense, that will preclude him from owning a gun and having access to a gun. He couldn't, for instance, borrow your gun and go hunting. So he's kind of screwed, so to speak.
He has to beat the charges, is what you're saying.
You better believe it. Yeah. He's got to beat the charges. And unfortunately, with that charge, in the old days, you could add a count of, let's say, assault in the third degree or menacing or annoying. You can't do that anymore. And so you got to beat those charges. And I would recommend getting away from that girl if you hadn't already.
Well, you know, we pray every day that she hops a train or a bus or a plane, but it ain't happened yet. So
kind of like a moth to a flame, huh?
It's bad. It's bad.
Yeah, that's
really
too bad. Yeah, that law is ridiculous. And but anyway, thanks for calling.
Thank you.
All right, take care. Yeah, that's something you really got to watch out, because that's a constitutional right you have, and you don't want to lose it by doing something stupid.
Yeah, a misdemeanor at that.
Yeah, so a misdemeanor. And it can be something simple like that, but you lose your right. There are ways to get it back eventually, but it's a lot of trouble to do that, and that's a constitutional right, an inalienable right you have, and you're losing it basically because you got maybe an argument with your girlfriend or your boyfriend, and you lose your right potentially forever to ever have a gun, be around a gun. And the Lautenberg Amendment, and it was a terrible thing to do, and it's taken a lot of people out of the job market. It's police officers, military officials, etc.
Yes, that's a good point. I have several friends of mine that are military recruiters, and they say that's the number one thing that it eliminates.
Give us a call now, 251-343-0106. What are the pros and cons of home defense with a carbine? I know you've got questions because normally shotguns are the weapon of choice here down in Alabama. We'll be back in a minute or two with Armed Alabama.
Looking for land, commercial space, or a home to purchase? Or do you have real estate that you would like to sell? Then you need to talk with Matt Moon, Siddick, at RE/MAX Partners, 7221 Grelot Road, Suite B. Matt Moon is dedicated to providing his clients trustworthy real estate expertise and professional, dependable service. Whether buying or selling your primary residence or a second home, or relocating to a new neighborhood, Matt Moon can help make your home ownership dreams come true. Email Mamoon at remax.net. That's MAMUN at remax.net. Longleaf pine is the South's original pine tree, towering over all others. Vast clear-cutting logging operations in the first half of the last century destroyed these beautiful longleaf forests, some well over 100 years old. Their wood sent to New England, New York, and Europe. Many Southerners have no memory of the magnificent longleaf forests that covered the South. The America's Longleaf Restoration Initiative is a concerted effort to restore and conserve longleaf pine forests. The best part is, it's working. For more info, visit americaslongleaf.org. When buying a vehicle, don't waste your valuable time. David Parnell at Palmer's Toyota is committed to getting you the best deal on a new, used, or leased car. And David will do that without wasting your time. Don't play the back and forth game. See David Parnell today. Palmer's Toyota, 470 Schillinger Road South. That's David Parnell at Palmer's Toyota, 639-0800, extension 168. Don't forget to see David Parnell at Palmer's Toyota, Schillinger Road, just south of Airport. He won't waste your time.
Step up to the firing line. Armed Alabama is back. Questions, comments, and texts at 343-0106.
See, in this world, there's two kinds of people, my friend. Those with loaded guns, and those who dig. You dig. Win.
To Armed Alabama. So glad you can join us again. We're your hosts, retired Judge Rusty Johnston and myself, Adam Strange. If you want to join us on the show, feel free to call the studio at 251-343-0106. You can call or text if you want to be a part of the show. And be sure and check out our website. That's www.armedalabama.com. Judge, we have a text that we've gotten here. It says, Judge Rusty, what is the best small gun for personal defense in the home? From Chad.
And I'm gathering when he means small gun, he means a carbine. And yes. So let me kind of go through a couple. If you've got plenty of money, money's no object, I would say the Tavor. And my son reminded me, who's here and who's our webmaster, and that is armedalabama.com, where we archive past shows, which is pretty interesting. We have legal tips, various things. But the Tavor is about $1,500. But that's the best. But if you don't have $1,500, the middle range is either a Beretta Storm, around $750, or I'd say new M1 Carbine that Auto Ordnance makes. That's around probably about $800. That's probably going to be longer than the Beretta Storm. The Beretta Storm shoots 9mm M1 Carbine, 30 carbine, but they make that in the critical defense ammo Hornady does. You could also go on maybe the low end of the scale. Kel-Tec makes a gun called the Sub 2000. Now they're into the second generation, which I'm not quite as familiar with, but its length is 33 inches. You actually can get it, if you don't have any preference, that'll take Glock magazines, which are cheap magazines, or if you have for instance, a Beretta 92 or an M9, you can get it that'll match that, so you can have handgun carbine compatibility. You should be able to get one of those for $4.99, especially the ones that take Glocks, and that's a good home defense weapon because you've got a 25-30 round magazine. Give you one more, the High Point carbine. It's probably the cheapest of all, but well made. The problem is High Point only makes 10 round magazines. There's an aftermarket company that makes, I think, 20 but it supposedly voids your warranty, and that company, I hadn't had any luck with their magazines. So that's my advice on those. Surprisingly, most people would think that rifles like 223 5.56 are going to penetrate walls and your outside wall and be more dangerous than a 9mm. 223s, 5.56s actually start tumbling when they hit a wall, and they'll start going sideways. 9mm shoot through, and 9mm is actually really more dangerous if you're talking about people in the next room or next house. But, of course, you shouldn't be firing a gun unless your family is all together. But a brick-clad home will stop a bullet, and there are a lot of brick-clad homes in Mobile.
Yeah, and to add to that, proper ammunition selection is key as well.
You should never be firing full metal jackets.
Yeah, or with like an AR type weapon or
any type
They'll
of
be
military.
Firing
Green tips.
Yeah, SS-109s. You definitely want to stay away from that as far as self-defense or defensive ammo.
Right.
All right. Well, so we have some phone calls right here. Next one is John. Hey, John.
Hey, Judge. How y'all doing?
Fine. How about you, John?
Hey, real quick. I had an uncle. He recently died. Left me some guns, but they're not really practical for home defense. One was a 454 Casull, which is a rather large gun. I really scared to shoot it at all because it's so high. It literally takes your breath away.
Oh, yeah.
He left me when he was in Special Forces. He had a 12 gauge with a duck bill. They used to clear rooms back in Vietnam. They were hunting for tactical evidence. It's pretty much, that's not really practical either because it shoots out such a pattern and really cuts somebody in half with buckshot. I just need something small. Like it's the same question, a decent pistol that won't go through walls, or mainly just if there's an intruder. I'm a pretty good shot. I just want to make sure it doesn't go through him and hit my kids in the next room, or you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, John. A lot of that is really personal preference. You can get lots of different answers. Like, what's the best truck? Well, it's a Ford, Chevrolet, or Dodge. There's lots of different answers there. And a lot of that has to do, too, the comment I just made was ammunition selection. If you're worried about over-penetration with a round going into the next room or across the hall or whatever, there's lots of different ammunition that you can buy for lots of different calibers that are, frangible type rounds, and they'll bust up upon, hard impact of a wall or anything else like that, especially if you have other family members in the house. Judge, if you want to tag on to that as far as maybe a different selection of firearms.
Yeah, and try to go with the 9mm round. I think that argument's been settled. But it depends on whether are you planning on carrying the gun outside the home, or is it going to just stay in the home?
It's basically, what I probably need, because I work a lot of late nights. Sometimes I go out of town. Mainly it'd be something my wife will feel comfortable shooting. If something, because where we live at is, if somebody comes down where we live at, they have no business down there. Yeah. Kind of thing. So we're trying to be alerted to that, and it'd be like her worst, because basically, let's say somebody just decided to kick the door in, she calls 911, and she's got 20 minutes basically on her own.
Oh yeah, when seconds count, the police are minutes away. Look into a carbine, but if you're dead set on a pistol, don't get something real small. The smaller gun is, the more recoil. Get something in the mid-size range. Let's say like I'm kind of high on Berettas, but Beretta has one is called the Beretta Storm pistol, PX Storm pistol, or that same one in the compact version. It's not real small, but it's large enough where you can get, the larger the gun, the better shot it's going to be and the less recoil. And, you need to just look at go over to McCoy's and just put your hands on, 8, 10, 15 guns and the one that feels best. The problem you've got is something that you feel good with, your wife's not going to feel good with.
And that's a good point. So you added a different dynamic there when you stated that, your wife needs to be able to use it as well. So like the judge said, it's a good idea to go and try different firearms. Hold them in your hand and her hand, since you're both going to utilize that weapon.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Okay, sure. That's why, Adam, I was mentioning I know it gets confusing, the Beretta CX4 Storm Carbine. A woman can handle that. My daughter she's in her 20s, but she's short stature. She can handle that fine, and I can handle it fine. And so it's something, if you're not going to carry outside the home, it's a great home defense gun.
Yeah, and that's a key point. I have, and I'm sure you have as well, Judge, different firearms for different reasons.
Well, people say, why do you have so many?
Yeah.
Because I have different purposes.
Right.
Let's throw out, let's do our giveaway question. So,
okay.
Speaking of carbines, AK-47, we're going to give away, PMAG now makes AK-47 magazines. Now, they're not clips, they're magazines. Too many people say clips. They're great magazines as opposed to the old steel magazines from Bulgaria. We're giving away, we'll give away 2 during the show. The first one, to anyone who can answer this question, what does AK-47 stand for? Let's go ahead and take a call, though, from Glenn.
Hi, Glenn. Welcome to Armed Alabama.
How are you doing this evening?
Fine. If you'd like to answer that question, I don't know if you heard it, go right ahead.
Oh, well, I know the AK-47 is a Kalashnikov made in Russia, isn't it?
Well, it is, but we want to know what. And if you don't need a PMAG for an AK-47, don't bother, But you want to go ahead and give the rest of the try?
Oh, well, actually, I'm afraid I don't know what the A stands for.
Okay, that's fine. What's your question, Glenn?
Well, I recently heard that having a pistol permit waives the waiting period for purchasing a firearm from a shop. Is that true?
There's no waiting period. Not in Alabama.
The FF, Federal Firearms Licensee, has the option of not running the firearms check with the FBI, which most of the time takes a couple of minutes anyway, but it's his option. That's the Attorney General has stated that, but it's up to the dealer whether or not he wants to run it. But no more waiting periods anyway. There's instant background checks.
Okay.
And to anybody that's buying one, always put your Social Security number down. That's where there are mistakes made. A lot of people never give anybody their Social Security number. Believe me, the government has it already, and they know more about you than you ever dreamed of. If you don't put your number down, they're going to get you confused with somebody who has the exact same name, who's got some criminal record, and that's where there's a problem.
Okay, we're going to go to the next call. The next call is Carl.
Hey, Carl.
Hey, Carl.
Hey, buddies. Listen, I really love y'all's show. Quick question, maybe a newbie stupid question, but I want to get me a home defense shotgun. And do I need to get like a 20 gauge or a 12 gauge? And I don't have a lot of money to spend. Maybe somewhere in the range of $400 or less. Can you guys recommend anything?
Is it going to be just for you or for other members of the family?
Well, I have a wife and a son, but, I don't know.
Let me give you the pros and cons real quick. And we may have to answer after the break, but 20 gauge or less recoil, but there's less selection of shotgun shells for it. And there's less selection of guns.
Right.
For probably a good lower cost shotgun is a Mossberg, Stoeger. I'd try to find an automatic if I was you. Pumps are difficult if you're not familiar with them. We'll finish. We'll come back. We'll let you go, but we'll come back and finish answering your question, all right?
Man, I appreciate any information you gave on a good home defense shotgun with low recoil.
We'll do that.
Thank you.
Okay.
To prove I'm right, I don't need to be forgiven.
FM Talk 106.5, the Gulf Coast Weather Authority, and Dr. Bill Williams.
We'll expect mostly cloudy skies tonight with a few showers. Lows will be in the lower 60s at daybreak. For Wednesday, mostly cloudy with showers, highs in the mid-70s. And the outlook for Thursday, showers are likely with highs in the lower 70s. This is meteorologist Dr. Bill Williams for FM Talk 106.5.
FM Talk 1065, the Gulf Coast Weather Authority.
I'm Bob Britt, Fox 10 News for FM Talk 1065.
I don't see how he can stay.
That's State Senator Rusty Glover talking to me yesterday about the future of Alabama Governor Robert Bentley, who insists he will not step down despite a federal and state investigation. Glover told me if it comes to impeachment, it may be next year before the legislature has to deal with the question. But he also told me he thought the issue might resolve itself long before that.
And I think if there's evidence that he did break the law, I think that there would be maybe a change of heart, that the inevitable would be here and he would step down.
In other news from Montgomery, state prosecutors say they plan to bring up other accusations against House Speaker Mike Hubbard during his ethics trial next month, including that he misrepresented advice he received from the Ethics Commission and also had an agreement with lobbyists to receive things of value in exchange for action on legislation. I'm Bob Bripp, Fox 10 News for FM Talk 1065.
If your spine is in a bind, it's time to be aligned. For 20 years, Dr. Justin Foster has been diagnosing and taking care of spinal problems. Misaligned vertebrae can hurt due to a strain or sprain from an accident, or be injured by repeated use and can lead to a pinched nerve if not fixed. Pinched nerves can cause a series of discomforts, including decreased flexibility, headaches, muscle, joint, disc, and nerve pain. Foster Chiropractic of Tillman's Corner, easy to find across from Lowe's off Rangeline. Longleaf pine is the South's original pine tree, towering over all others. Vast clear-cutting logging operations in the first half of the last century destroyed these beautiful longleaf forests, some well over 100 years old. Their wood sent to New England, New York, and Europe. Many Southerners have no memory of the magnificent longleaf forests that covered the South. The America's Longleaf Restoration Initiative is a concerted effort to restore and conserve longleaf pine forests. The best part is, it's working. For more info, visit americaslongleaf.org.
Step up to the firing line. Armed Alabama is back. Questions, comments, and texts at 343-0106.
If you don't love it, leave it. Let this song that I'm singing be a warning. When you're running down our country, man, you're walking on the fighting side of me. You're walking on the fighting side of me. Running down a wheel.
To finish up with the shotguns, my first advice is don't get a shotgun, because the recoil with the shotgun compared to a 9mm carbine is 10 to 20 times more recoil. And for a woman, that is just incredible. If you'll go to our YouTube channel, Armed Alabama, on YouTube, just Google or search Armed Alabama, you'll see Matt Canovey comparing I think it's a tactical 22 with, and that's another option for the gentleman, is tactical 22. People say 22s kill more people than all the other guns put together. You can fire, a dozen rounds through somebody, and you can get one of those in the range that he's talking about. But the problem with the shotgun, again, is you have to practice with that. Nobody ever practices with buckshot. You know that. You're a shotgun instructor. And you got 42-something inches. But all that aside, if he's intent on a shotgun, I would try to do an automatic. There's a brand called Stoeger. It's actually a subsidiary of Beretta, I believe, but they're kind of a cheaper.
Right, and TriStar Arms is another one.
Okay, yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
And because with a pump, if it's night and you're afraid, you may not rack that slide properly, may not load the gun. And but all that aside, I'd probably go with a 20 gauge semi-automatic if I could find the one that I liked. And I would personally, if I could find one that I could replace the stock with a telescoping stock like a AR-15 has to adjust it to different members of the family, that's what I'd go with. I think we may have a winner on our question.
Line 2, Wayne.
And that's
Wayne.
Yes, sir.
Hey, welcome to Armed Alabama.
Well, thank you.
Think we may have a winner here, Wayne. What's the answer to our AK-47?
The answer is automatic Kalashnikov 1947.
You got it. Good for you. And we know we've got your name and phone number already. And I tell you, these PMAGs are really nice. I used to have magazines rattle all the time in my AKs, and these hold in there firm. So you'll enjoy it.
Very good.
All right, just stop by the studio and pick it up.
I will.
All right, take care.
Thank you, Wayne. Thank you for listening to Armed Alabama.
Before we go to our next call, let me mention this. McCoy Outdoors is now one of our sponsors of our show. That means they're taking a major role in the show. And I have been looking for, now I need this like I need a hole in my head, but a crossbow. And lo and behold, McCoy has a great selection of crossbows. And there are a lot of people that hunt deer traditionally using what they call primitive weapons, bow and arrow, crossbow, and they have a great selection over there. And I tell you, price-wise, they're competitive with any of the big box discount stores, which, if you know anything about them, it's going to be a different person working there every time you go. I'll tell some stories later about big box discount stores and how they train their employees. But McCoy has a great selection in that department. They sell a brand called Striker, which is one of the better brands they are. You can get one from $549 up to $699. And believe me, they deliver they call them a bolt, but most people would call them an arrow, accurately on target. I mean, that's something that's really cool. They sell compound bows down there, any kind of arrow and any kind of arrowhead, from practice to ones that will take down a deer, and I guess in a zombie apocalypse, a zombie right through the head, as in The Walking Dead.
Yeah, with no noise.
With no noise, because the problem with zombies, if you shoot, you attract more. So we really appreciate McCoy's. They have everything you need down there. Shotguns, as I said, shotguns, rifles, pistols, revolvers, etc. They have them from the most expensive to the least expensive. And the one thing I like about them is they're the only source in town for the Mace pepper spray gun. And they also have the Kimber pepper blaster. So if you're not allowed to have a gun, or if you're too young, you've got that option. Or if you're going to Washington, D.C., take that with you. So we appreciate them down at McCoy's for helping us out.
And you can find McCoy's west of I-65 on Spring Hill.
In the old K&B Shopping Center. All right. Let's take a call from Fred. Fred, what do you have for us?
Good evening, Judge and Adam. I love your show.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Fred.
I've not missed a issue of it.
Thank you.
I know you guys are talking about carbines, but I would appreciate greatly your thoughts and comments on the new AR pistols and AK-47 pistols that you can get and buy an aftermarket like Sig Sauer arm grip to go with it. It's real short, real convenient, confined, and I would just like to hear what you have to say and how it compares with a carbine. And dummy me, I missed you if you gave it, but what is the definition of a carbine? I would like to hang up and just listen to you.
Yeah.
Love your show, and thank you very much.
Carbine is one of those things like it's a state of mind, but basically it's a short rifle.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm kind of up on the
short, lightweight rifle.
Yeah, light, shorter rifle. You had the the Colt AR-15, and on their own, because the government wasn't interested in it, Colt built the M4. And the M4 is actually the carbine, whereas the AR-15 is the longer rifle, basically. But you've got a more interesting question, because I did a lot of research for that on the gun show up in Springfield. The SIG pistol / brace. It was designed originally, that their patent was for people who had Lou Gehrig's disease. That's what it was designed for. It's a short rifle. It's less than the 28 inches long, but it straps to your arm to assist people with physical problems. You don't have to have a physical problem to use it. But the ATF has held now that if you use that against your shoulder, your face, anything but strap it onto your arm, that you're violating the law by doing that. And you can go on YouTube. You can find 1,000 people that are using it improperly by bracing it up against their shoulder or whatever. But using it as intended, it wouldn't be bad at all for home defense. I've just never had the, I guess, desire to try one out. Nobody's offered one to me, but I can see how that might be an excellent choice. But it's something a little different. But be careful. There are a lot of people that are basically converting AR rifles or AR carbines into pistols and putting the brace on them. Once an AR pistol, always an AR pistol. They're registered that way. You can't switch them back and forth without violating the National Firearms Act. So I think that probably answers your question.
All right, next phone call is Mark. Mark, you're on the air.
Hello.
Hey, Mark.
Hey, Adam.
Yes,
Judge?
welcome to
Hey.
Alabama.
Oh, good to get through to you. Yeah, I've got a question in that I've got a 35 Remington lever action rifle.
Yeah.
And I just can't see spending $1,800 for a carbine. What are some tips on using that for home protection?
The Hornady makes some good, depending on which one you have, they make some of the good AMAX and VMAX rounds for that have the kind of the plastic tips for that. That will prevent over-penetration with your rifle. And that's one of the things I'd look for. And otherwise, I think you're fine with that. So look on Hornady's website at first and check those out. They're plastic tipped, which means they're going to fragment more when you fire it. And if you know how to use that well, you're in good shape. You just want to avoid that over penetration. Or if they don't have that, some soft lead tips. So like when you would shoot a deer, for instance, it would more mushroom when it hit the deer. You want something like that next, so it won't go through all the walls and outside your house.
Yeah, that's a good point. Thank you for the call, Mark. Next we have Aaron. Hi, Aaron. Welcome to Armed Alabama.
How you doing, Adam? How you doing, Your Honor? I'm
doing
sorry,
good.
I had the radio turned up. Hey, I wanted to ask y'all with the. I heard y'all mention Tavor earlier.
Yeah.
And with the bullpup shotguns that have come out, the KSG,
right?
I can't remember.
Right.
A lot of them. But why do you think that they're not doing the bullpup in the 410? Especially since, I'm sure y'all know about the judge and the
right.
circuit judge and all that.
I think part of the reason is 410s the shells are real expensive, and that's the main reason. They're more expensive than 12 gauges, the shells themselves, and they're hard to get. I would expect that's the reason. And you don't have a lot of knockdown power with them, but it's still pretty interesting.
But
I would design one if I was a gun designer.
With the Rossi and the Taurus self defense shells.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, they stay tight too. I think there are a couple of the Russian shotgun makers, Sagia, and which has been banned, but one of the other ones that makes the AK style shotgun, automatic with the magazine that uses the 410s.
Well, I wasn't so much talking about that. I was talking about
the short bullpups. Yeah, but that's a good idea. Actually,
it's interesting to hear it, and I was just wondering y'all's opinion.
Yeah. Let me mention this. The Alabama Senate passed the bill to allow you to carry your handgun in your car without a permit last week. The fight's going to be in the Alabama House. Now, personally, I think it's a good idea. I was going through and I counted at least 18 other states that have it. There hadn't been any problem with it because you are a law-abiding person. If you feel like I do, call your local legislator, member of the House, and tell them you want that to go through. People aren't shooting police officers when they're stopped for speeding for that. They're law-abiding citizens. Tell them you want it to pass.
You are, and Adam, I am from Florida. I'm the guy from across the bay.
Yeah.
And I am for constitutional carry all the way.
Well, good for you.
I would rather, like y'all have it in Alabama, and I know y'all have it this way,
Hang on. We're going to catch you after the break. Hang on. Hang on.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. Hang on.
Hi, join us after the break for Armed Alabama.
Looking for land, commercial space, or a home to purchase? Or do you have real estate that you would like to sell? Then you need to talk with Matt Moon, Siddick, at RE/MAX Partners, 7221 Grelot Road, Suite B. Matt Moon is dedicated to providing his clients trustworthy real estate expertise and professional, dependable service. Whether buying or selling your primary residence or a second home, or relocating to a new neighborhood, Matt Moon can help make your home ownership dreams come true. Email Mamoon at remax.net. That's MAMUN at remax.net. If your spine is in a bind, it's time to be aligned. For 20 years, Dr. Justin Foster has been diagnosing and taking care of spinal problems. Misaligned vertebrae can hurt due to a strain or sprain from an accident, or be injured by repeated use and can lead to a pinched nerve if not fixed. Pinched nerves can cause a series of discomforts, including decreased flexibility, headaches, muscle, joint, disc, and nerve pain. Foster Chiropractic of Tillman's Corner, easy to find across from Lowe's off Rangeline.
Attention taxpayers. This is a tax service announcement from the tax pros at Jackson Hewitt. Tax day is around the corner. If you're in the process of filing your own taxes, stop immediately. One mistake can cost you boatloads of money. Instead, stop by Jackson Hewitt, where you can have your taxes filed by a tax pro with 100% accuracy, maximum refund guaranteed. Prices start as low as $48 for Tier 1 1040EZ filers. Other returns may qualify to get $50 today on an American Express Serve card after you file with us. Just stop into any one of our 6,300 Jackson Hewitt locations. But hurry, tax day is almost here. Jackson Hewitt, where taxes are less taxing. Minimum tax prep fee required for $50 gift. Additional fees apply for state, local, and more complex federal tax returns, financial products, and other services. Valid at participating locations. Terms and conditions apply for all offers. See jacksonhewitt.com/tier 1 for details.
Step up to the firing line. Armed Alabama is back. Questions, comments, and texts at 343-0106.
The 45 long slide with laser sighting.
It's a brand new. We just got them in. That's a good gun. Just touch the trigger, the beam comes on, and you put the red dot where you want the bullet to go. You can't miss. Anything else?
Phased plasma rifle in the 40-watt range.
Hey, just what you see, pal.
The Uzi 9mm.
You know your weapons, buddy. Any one of these is ideal for home defense. So, what shall it be?
All.
Let me close early today. There's a 15-day wait on the handguns, but the rifles you can take right now. You can't do that.
Wrong.
Head for the chopper.
Before we get
Welcome back to Armed Alabama.
Before we get back to Aaron, I want to mention you can see a lot of the firearms we've been talking about in action on our YouTube channel. That's Armed Alabama. If you go to YouTube, has a search engine on it. Just type in Armed Alabama, which is the name of the channel. You can see the Tavor in action. You can see, the Kel-Tec Sub 2000 in action. You can see a number of them there. You can also see the effect of a 9mm bullets going through a windshield of a car, which is interesting.
Yeah, also 5.56, 223, a lot of different rounds that we tested with Matt Kenobi when we were there last. And that's a very good interest one. We may need to bring that up the next time we're on air and talk about relationship with windshields and how it deflects rounds and stuff. Forth.
Let's talk. Finish up there. Aaron.
Hey, Aaron. Thank you for holding.
You were talking about constitutional carry, which is an interesting subject. You know, the only problem, and I don't have any problem with it at all. In fact, last night I was reading St. George Tucker's commentaries on the U.S. Constitution, written in 1802. So he wrote it contemporaneously with the Constitution. And if anybody thinks that the Second Amendment was written in order to make sure the militia operated properly, they're crazy, because that isn't what he wrote, and he wrote it at the same time the Constitution was written. He said it was written first in order that the people could protect themselves from a despotic government, and secondarily, so the people could protect themselves and their families. But all that aside, the only problem with constitutional carry is the good thing about a permit is you can travel to a number of states that recognize our permit.
Yes, sir, and I agree with you completely. But what I would say to that is why I like what Alabama has instated is, from my understanding of it, is that in Alabama, if you are applying for a concealed carry permit, pretty much all you have to do is go to the sheriff of your county or maybe your police chief of your city, and
it's the sheriff, and as long as you don't have a criminal record,
exactly,
there are a couple of things. It's a shall issue.
People who will vouch for you that the sheriff trusts. But I would go one further.
Well, you don't have to have anybody to vouch for you.
The citizen's better than the sheriff or the police chief. You go to them, and maybe the sheriff pushes off one of the lieutenants and says, "Hey, okay, you want to carry a gun? That's fine. You pay $20. Prove to me you know how to shoot. Show me your DD-214, or just, we'll go to the range, and, you shoot the gun." But this, like in Florida, it's crazy.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it is nuts. I am a combat veteran, and it took me a year and a half to get my concealed carry license.
And what if you had a stalker after you? The year and a half would have meant your death.
A year and a half? Yeah,
it would have.
That's exactly what I'm saying, sir.
Sure.
Yeah.
And the Chicago and Illinois it'll cost you about $1,000 by the time you jump through all the hoops.
Well, thank God it didn't cost me that much, because I probably wouldn't afford it. Could not have afforded it. But I mean, it is absolutely nuts. I mean, who is going to know you better than the people around you?
Yeah. And by the way, you mentioned, let me clear up a couple of things. You mentioned here you go to the sheriff, and you don't have to have anybody vouch for you as long as you meet these certain conditions the legislature set out. Basically, being a law-abiding citizen, the sheriff shall issue it to you, and that is the most efficient government operation in the state. You can get in and out of there usually in 10 minutes.
And I completely agree with you. And hey, I love what y'all are doing. It's Armed Alabama. What's the YouTube page again?
And the Armed Alabama also. And thank you for bringing that up. If you go to our website, we have a current poll up, which is it deals with how often, if you have a permit, how often do you carry it? Less than 5%, between 5 and 10%, 10 and 25%. It goes on, because I suspect people don't carry them. But last week's poll, if you voted in it, is we asked what should the AR-15 be called? America's rifle got 50% of the votes, tactical rifle 33% of the votes, battle rifle 17% of the votes. But go to our website. There's a lot there. The YouTube page is linked.
Love what y'all are doing.
Thank you so much. Take care.
I think I like America's rifle.
And I invented that, actually. I mean, other people have called it that, but I actually stole somebody else's poll, and it didn't have that one in there, and I put it there on top. I like it too. It is the most popular rifle in America, and I like America's rifle. And I'll tell you, I like AKs too, but there's not one person in the world that wouldn't take, if they could have an AR-15 over an AK-47.
I'm sure a lot of people will argue, but for me as well, I mean, I would definitely take an AR over an AK.
I had an AK malfunction on me and slung a cartridge up and hit me in the face. So I've never had an AR-15 do that. So, and they're
kind of manufactured the same as a toaster.
Well,
they are. Stamp metal there.
You have to sand them down or Dremel them down before they'll work sometimes. Steve, let's take your call before we run out of time.
Hey, fellas, how y'all doing?
Hey, fine. How about you?
Oh, I'm armed.
Yeah, good for you. Good for you. Vote in our poll and our website, too, because that's important this week.
In this day and age, people need to be armed, and people need to protect themselves. And one thing I wanted to quickly address, that I have recently volunteered my services at my church to stand at the rear of the church by the only entrance door and to protect the church.
They're big targets.
Yeah.
If I were a Muslim terrorist, that's the first place I'd hit.
Country church that nobody lives around, and
yep.
I don't even think people would hear the shooting.
Well, you're right. And wouldn't you think a Muslim terrorist, that would be the first place he would attack, a Christian church?
Well, it doesn't even necessarily have to be a Muslim terrorist. You know, you had that fellow that up in the Carolinas that just went in there for racist motivations or just whatever.
And, you know, a lot of times you will just deter somebody by being there. Most of these people are cowards, and when confronted by an armed individual, they're going to flee.
Well, I have a friend of mine who runs a mixed martial arts academy up in Jackson, and he's been talking to me about doing seminars at churches and different groups like that to teach, you know, how to react, what to do, how to be strong, how to fight back.
Well, let me mention this. Go to our website, armedalabama.com, and go under legal. There's a paper about Christians and using lethal force, because you're going to run into a lot of people that say, you know, turn the other cheek and all. A real theologian wrote this paper, and he explains how it's in keeping with the gospel to use force, even deadly force, to defend yourself and your family. And download that paper. I think you could use it, because you'll run into those folks.
Well, I, like many others, am not a perfect Christian, so I don't always turn the other cheek. If somebody's threatening my church family,
exactly,
you're liable to see a lot of unchristian behavior.
Well, and I don't think you have to. But thank you for your call. I appreciate it, and hope you do that.
Thank you, Steve.
All right, remember to go to our poll on our website, Armed Alabama. Look at that paper. Also, download the Bill of Rights with the preamble that Brian McClanahan was talking about. I think that's very interesting. And look at our YouTube channel, because I think some of the training and the weapons will really interest you.
Yeah, the YouTube channel is a great place, great resource. Also, remember to check us out on social media, Facebook, and also Twitter. Facebook is Armed Alabama Radio FM 106.5, and Twitter is Armed Alabama 106.5 FM. Also, be sure and
stop by McCoy's, our new sponsor of the show. We really appreciate that. See you next week on Armed Alabama.
San Francisco do. And I'm proud to be an Okie from Muskogee, a place where even squares can have a ball.